I'm someone who likes historical stuff and history-based quotes, and with today's story about what we're going to be talking about, I am reminded of one of the great poets from my era of growing up, and I think it's very relevant to this story. Rolling on that Indo, GameCube, Nintendo, 5% tint so you can't see up in my window. And that, of course, is from the great Slim Thug talking about the Nintendo GameCube, or GameCube Nintendo, because you got to match it up so that it rhymes with Indo and window. Like, I understand it. He's having a little chief session in there, and he's got the dark tint, but he's playing a lot of GameCube games, and Nintendo Switch owners are also playing a lot of GameCube games recently. When you look at stuff like Metroid Prime Remastered, I still think this is one of the most impressive games, visually speaking, on the Nintendo Switch. Like, it looks absolutely gorgeous. It doesn't look out of place next to, modern games and stuff like that. And they reworked all of the textures and stuff like that. A very, very impressive game for the Switch. We've also had stuff like Paper Mario: The Thousand Year Door, a cult classic for Nintendo fans that people really wanted to play, a updated version when it comes to graphics and stuff like that on their Nintendo Switch. Although the frame rate did get halved, nobody seems to care about that because, well, I don't know. I just try to bring it up and people get mad at me. But with all this GameCube goodness, it seems like something else is currently happening right now and people are getting excited. I'm not one of those people because I still have a bad head cold, so I'm probably going to stumble over my words in this, but I want to get this information out to you because, I feel like Slim Thug wants me to, and Slim Thug could be potentially behind this whole situation. So, something is happening right now with the GameCube and Nintendo. So that's why he said it that way. It makes perfect sense. A post went up over on Famaboards that has now been brought over to Gaming Leaks and Rumors Reddit from an individual by the name of Luigi Blood, who I actually follow on Twitter. And this user, Luigi Blood, posted some customs shipping information. And in this custom shipping information, there was some stuff about a GameCube controller with similar code names and similar part identifiers that are in line with previous NSO controllers, such as, we've gotten the NES controller, the Super Nintendo controller, the N64 controller. Obviously, the N64 controller is probably, I would say, it's the most important controller out of all of those systems because you really kind of need one of those. We actually found one of those for Josie at Too Many Games. I'm glad we found her one because that child has never played N64 controller before. It's like, what is wrong with you? Friggin' kids. But this, of course, is very interesting. And then somebody else backed it up saying that, yes, this is public shipping information, but we found it. And there's something about GameCube in here. Now, really, to me, there's three different things that could be happening here. The first thing would be that Slim Thug needs more GameCube controllers. That Indo has messed up the sticks of the controllers. Maybe he stepped on one of the controllers. So he is importing more controllers for his in-car setup. Now, that's probably the lowest end of the spectrum, but I think it's a real possibility. Now, the other two possibilities, well, this is where we kind of got to get Occam's razor going on with this, because the one that's being romanticized, the one that everyone is kind of clinging on to, would of course be Nintendo Switch Online is getting GameCube. And, there's people that come along and say, well, that doesn't make any sense. Why would they be redoing GameCube games, but then still have them on Nintendo Switch Online? And people are quick to point out, well, Super Mario 64 is on Nintendo Switch Online for the N64, but they also included it in the 3D Classics All-Star Collection, which, that is true, although the 3D Classics Collection was a limited time thing, where if you didn't buy it then, you can't buy it now. Shout out to my cousin who wanted a copy of it. She was left out in the cold. You're not buying it, pal. We're removing that from the storefront. But I do think that is kind of a good point, because when you look at all the GameCube games that have come to the Nintendo Switch, there's Pikmin stuff on here as well, Metroid Prime. Could the vanilla versions end up coming to Nintendo Switch Online? One thing that I think kind of holds that back a little bit, though, would be how you look at how Nintendo Switch Online is actually done. Because when you open up the app, it essentially just preloads all of those games via your internet connection. And an N64 game, a Super Nintendo game, an NES game, that's smaller than what you're going to get with a GameCube game. Now, obviously, GameCube games aren't, 30 gigs or something like that, but some of them are definitely, up to a gig. And, if people don't have good internet connection, how is that going to sort of work? How is that sort of going to work out? Because you can't really preload, 30 games if they're larger file sizes. And when you talk about GameCube coming to Nintendo Switch Online, it just seems like a pipe dream at this point in time. It seems like that romantic thing that everyone would want and everyone would love. But that doesn't mean Nintendo's going to do it. So what would be Occam's razor? What's the most likely situation with this? I honestly think that the controller itself does exist, and they're just going to release a GameCube controller for the Nintendo Switch that also works with the system successor, like a Bluetooth controller, similar to what we've seen with the other controllers for Nintendo Switch Online. There's a lot of GameCube games on the Switch. And Nintendo is kind of missing out by not having an official GameCube controller that is being able to be used with these GameCube games to give you that sort of satisfaction of playing these games back in the day, but with new enhancements. Like, maybe at some point GameCube comes to Nintendo Switch Online, but I feel like, DS would come first. I feel like Virtual Boy would come first. I feel like fleshing out the libraries of stuff that we have already would come first before GameCube would, because, there's obviously money to be made there. And that's kind of the main takeaway from this. Nintendo is re-releasing GameCube games, sometimes just, ports of them, like with the Pikmin games, and sometimes enhanced versions, and people are buying them. So why would you put that on Switch Online and kind of cannibalize the potential sales of all of those games? Now, that's not to say that I wouldn't want GameCube on Switch Online, because I would. But I'm also not here to peddle, false hopes and false dreams and stuff like that, because Nintendo's a business, and a business runs to make profit. Like, yes, they want to make you happy, but more importantly, they want to make money, because money makes them happy and money makes shareholders happy. And adding GameCube to Nintendo Switch Online could potentially cannibalize some game sales if down the road either Nintendo or a third-party publisher wants to remake or remaster some of their GameCube library. But I would love to play Geist on my Switch. That'd be cool, because Geist had a multiplayer component. Everyone sleeps on Geist, and you shouldn't. You shouldn't, because if Geist was supported, we would have Geist 2, and Geist is probably one of the more interesting Nintendo properties that was developed by N-Space and published by Nintendo. But no, nobody liked it. Nobody bought it. Yeah, it didn't look all that great, but that doesn't matter. It's about gameplay. It is about gameplay. You played Hyrule Warriors Age of Calamity at 20 frames per second. You can't play Geist? You can't play Geist where you take over things? Anyways, I would love to see GameCube come to Switch Online. I'm just not going to sit here and say, hey, that's probably what this is, boys. Woo! 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 Like, no, that's unrealistic. And when you look at how Nintendo operates, to me, just releasing a controller makes the most sense. Maybe bundle it with a GameCube game, with one of the game, Paper Mario, the Thousand Year Door plus GameCube controller or something like that. Like, why not? You have a custom skin on it for Paper Mario. People will eat that up. People will eat that up. So let me know in the comment section down below. What do you think this is all about? Do you think that there is, reason to believe that Nintendo is going to put GameCube on Switch Online? Do you think they're just releasing a controller for the Nintendo Switch to enjoy GameCube games? Is Slim Thug behind this whole situation? Still tipping on fofos? Yeah, let me know in the comments down below. And as always, guys, thank you for checking out this video. You guys really seem to like yesterday's video. You're probably not going to like this video as much, but hey, thanks for the support on that video. Less than 1,000 subs to 500K. Let's go. Let's freaking go. I'm going back on the couch. And as always, I'll catch you guys on the next video. Later.